Hello everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome to a new reading vlog. This reading vlog is going to be all about Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. This is book 2 to the Magnolia Park's series, but book 3 overall, if that makes sense. So here's the series. You have to start with Magnolia Parks, and then you have to read Daisy Hates, and then you can go into Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. So even though they're like titled differently, they're all still like the same series pretty much. But yeah, this is going to be my reading vlog all about just The Long Way Home. So if you missed my other 2 vlogs of the first Magnolia Parks and then also Daisy Hates, I will leave those linked down in the description down below. But yeah, I'm going to be talking major spoilers for all 3 of the books. So if you haven't read any of those, or if you haven't read this one, please go read them and then come back and watch. Don't watch this if you haven't read it yet. So I have started this. I'm not very far in. I'm only on page 36. I'm on chapter 5 right now, and I'm already tabbing and annotating the crap out of this. I'm already crying. So yeah, that's where we're at. I just wanted to film this intro before I got too far into this because I just want to talk about these books all the time. And honestly, I'm not kidding. I'm like kind of scared to read this one because I just have a feeling it's going to absolutely destroy me, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I've already told Lachlan from Locke's Library, if you don't know. I'll leave some of her videos linked down below. She's one of my besties. But yeah, I've already told her that I'm expecting her to hold my hand through this book, and I'm expecting her to be there for me when it's over. But yeah, listen, I could talk for hours about how much I love Jessa's writing. I can feel it in my heart, in my chest, in my soul. Her writing is just like no other. I can't even explain how beautiful it is and how like deeply I feel about it. Like I just cannot. I love it so much. All right, so I'm going to go into some spoilers now about so far what's been happening. So here's your spoiler warning. Spoilers are happening now for the rest of the video. But we start off with Magnolia, and we see that it's already been almost a year since the events of the first Magnolia Parks book. We did see that little end chapter in Daisy Hates set in March in New York and following Magnolia just a couple months after like the big blowout. But now it's been almost a year. It is November now, and Magnolia needs to go back to London for her father and Marceli's wedding. And she hasn't been back to London since everything happened. She's been living in New York, and she's going to have to attend her father's wedding. And BJ is going to be there because obviously her family is friends with the Ballantine family, and so their paths are going to cross. And so this whole time she's trying to tell you like she's closed off her heart to him. She won't even like, you know, anytime his name is mentioned, she won't react at all. And then we get BJ's point of view, and he has a current girlfriend. Although he does say that he didn't ask her to be his girlfriend. She just kind of referred to herself that one night at dinner, and like the press just went off with that. So he just like went with it. But anyways, he does have a girlfriend right now. And they do like meet at this wedding, and literally his first line to her, I could cry right now. On page 31, his first line to her after not talking to her for almost a year is, "How's the weather, Parks?" I just love them so much. And anyway, they get to talking, and Magnolia notices that he has a new tattoo, and it's of 2 dead bees, which is like their metaphor for them, for their relationship. And obviously we have the 2 dead bees on the back of the cover, and that's like where I've left off pretty much. BJ asks her, "Can we meet up before you go back? Can we have a chat?" And she says, "Yeah, we can do that." And he says, "Okay, I'll call you. I'll get your number from Henry." And then it's Magnolia like going into the bathroom and having this realization that she still loves him. And that's literally where we're at. That's where I'm at. I haven't gotten very far, like I said, but I did want to just like check in for this intro. They did also have that conversation because Magnolia says that she's staying for a couple weeks longer than what they had originally intended that she was going to stay. So Magnolia says like she's staying because they ask her, aren't you staying for a week? And she said, actually just under 3. And they're like, why, what? And she's like, I have a couple of work meetings. And she says, I shrug, and it's a bit of a lie, but what else can I say? December 3rd. And we know that December 3rd is when she and BJ meet at the Willow Tree every year. And when he like is talking to her, he says, here for long? She says, just a few weeks. You staying till? Yes, I couldn't. So like they're still gonna do the Willow Tree thing. And so anyways, yes, that is where I'm at right now. I'm on chapter 5. I'm going to be reading more tonight. I'm hoping that I can make it 75 to 100 pages in before I go to bed tonight. I'll check back in when I have more to update. I'm on sprints right now, and I literally had to shut my camera off because I'm not okay. We get the background on why BJ got with Paley. I don't even want to talk about it. But also, I just read the scene where they go to the Willow Tree on December 3rd, where they meet every single year, no matter what. And BJ was there and left before she got there, left without her. And we find out that they had a baby girl. And then Magnolia basically has like a panic attack. But the fact that they've always gone there and BJ went this year and left without seeing her. And then we get that reveal. I'm sure we're gonna get the backstory on that in the next chapter, but I had to put the book down. If you could only see how I have you propped up right now, it's quite precarious. I wanted to do an update. So I made it to page 189 of Long Way Home on chapter 32. And first of all, it should go without saying, but I'm absolutely loving this. What was the last thing I left off on? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I was absolutely sobbing. I think we just got to the part where we find out that they had a daughter that they lost. And then BJ goes to the Willow Tree on December 3rd and leaves without seeing Magnolia, and she's quite upset about that. She has an actual breakdown, and then Bridget comes and helps take care of her. And then we get this scene where Bridget and Parks go out to like a club or something, to the bars, and Parks gets really, really drunk, and BJ is there, and he is just so sweet with her. They have this really cute scene where he's talking to her, and he says, "Are you sad, Parks?" And she says, "I'm always sad, Beej." About that, I nod once, decidedly. "And you," I offer as an afterthought. "And me? What about me, Parks?" "Oh, everything about you," I sigh, drunk. What we were, what we aren't, what we made. But yeah, they have that whole scene then where she's just like saying things because she's got no filter now because she's very drunk. And she almost tells like the box set about their baby, but she doesn't. And then BJ takes care of her when she's drunk, and they wake up the next morning and decide that it's time that they can tell their friends what happened. And so they have this lunch with them, and they tell them everything that went down, and they handle it really, really well. They're very sweet about it. They talk about how they were going to name her Billie because they danced to Billie Holiday, which was really sweet. And then it immediately gets messed up. Like, I think Parks is telling BJ that she's moving back to London, and he like, the way that he expresses what he's feeling does not come off the way that it's supposed to. So he's actually very excited that she's coming back. He's very happy about it, but he's like, doesn't express that. So she thinks the opposite. She thinks that he's not excited about it and that he doesn't want her there. So she's like, well then. And then Parks says that her and Bridget are going to get a place of their own, which is pretty cool. Her, Parks, Bridget, and Tara are all going to be living together, which I think is really cute. I love that Magnolia and Tara are like best friends now. I just absolutely love that. Jonah is trying to convince BJ that he should break up with Jordan because obviously he doesn't care about her like he cares about Parks, and they're so close that they could be together, and they just keep getting pulled apart. Oh, BJ got a new tattoo. He got the dead Bambi, which obviously Magnolia, when she saw that, was very hurt about that. That part was sad. It's always something. It's always something. Magnolia has a run-in with Perry, who she hasn't seen since everything went down, and we kind of find out that Perry and Paley have been basically shunned from upper society Britain because of everything that went down. Like, it was all in the society papers, and places were like turning Paley and Perry away because they would rather have BJ because he's like the golden boy. So they were basically shunned from high society. And then Perry says the thing about like, well, you've forgiven Jonah, that's a little hypocritical. And Parks has this whole thing is so sad. She says, you know that, do you? I blink that I've forgiven Jonah. Clearly. Clear, is it? I blink a few times and I point over at Perry. You know how I feel in my chest when I see him? I gesture towards Joe. Jonah, my friend since I was 12, who not only lied to me for 3 years about probably the most painful and monumental experience of my life, but also concealed it, covered it up, took away my closure, and let me live in the dark while I floundered around it, unable to move on. Couldn't let go because no one would tell me the fucking truth. That part is so sad because, like, Jonah's betrayal, like, really is affecting her. And then Perry's like, we did the same things. I was trying to protect Paley. And Park says, and who was trying to protect me? I yell louder than I mean to. I was the only one in that whole situation who didn't do anything wrong. Who was making sure I was fine? She's got a point. And then we get BJ's point of view where he says that he was trying to break up with Jordan, but then her parents were splitting up and then her apartment flooded, so she needed a place to stay. So she's like, can I live with you for a month until everything gets sorted? And it's just like, there's always something that's keeping them apart. There's always something. And then we get the reveal that when Magnolia was in New York and Christian was visiting her, they almost hooked up. And literally my annotation is, they're so stupid, because Christian is still in love with Daisy. He even says it, I still love her. And she says, I still love him. And Christian says, this would kill her. And then the last, like, scene that we got was at Christmas, and it's when BJ gives Parks the twisted rope bow necklace, like, on the back of the cover, that she had lost when she was, I think, 17 or something. He gave it to her when she was 16, and that part was just so cute. And yeah, he found it because they don't make them anymore. He found it at a pawn shop, and so she's, like, all excited and happy about that. And then he's, like, trying to do the honorable thing by Jordan because he doesn't want to cheat on Jordan like he cheated on Magnolia. He's trying to deserve Magnolia's love. And so he's trying to do the honorable thing here by not, like, kissing her, being with her, or anything. And so he leaves. And then they do this cute thing where he's, like, literally just, like, she had just closed the door on him and he calls her. And that part was so cute. This quote on page 187 where she's like, is there a reason you didn't come in? And he said, not one that I'm willing to disclose, or whatever. And he says, I'm tired. And she says, I'm tired too, she tells me, but I reckon she means the other kind of tired. And it hangs there. What we're really saying, both of us begging the other to wave the fucking white flag, but then nothing. We just fall to silent, our phones pressed against our ears, waiting for the other to talk. But neither of us do, so it sits there between us, loud and telling, scared and hurt. The juxtaposition of everything about us, comfortable and terrified. Everything's old and all of it's new. Before we used to smother our silences with our bodies. Now we use them to speak all these fucking words we'll never say. And then they have, like, this cute moment where they're together. Not, like, together, but, like, you know, it's almost like a very intimate hug, basically. And then BJ says, I could drown in the what ifs if I let myself. Might as well. I'll be drowning in her anyway for the rest of my life. Happily, too. What a way to go. What a life. But then he leaves because he's trying to do, like, the honorable thing. And he just says, Happy Christmas, Parks. And she says, Merry Christmas, Beach. So that's where I am. Still absolutely loving it. God, these quotes. I'll never stop saying that I love Jessa's writing. Like, I can't even express how much I love her writing. It literally speaks to my soul. And I'm not trying to be dramatic at all. It literally speaks to my soul. Like, I can feel it when I read it. I can physically feel it when I read it. So yeah, I'm nearing the 200-page mark. I'm going to read more tomorrow, so I'll probably update you. I don't know. I feel like I kind of want to update you just whenever I have an update rather than like once I get to a certain page number. So I don't know when I'll see you next, but you'll see that in a couple seconds. Good morning. I thought I would do another quick check-in because I haven't checked in over 100 pages, so we've got some stuff to talk about. Why did I take the bookmark out? I don't want to lose my spot. Okay, so the last thing that we talked about was Christmas when BJ gave Magnolia the knot necklace. So much has happened since then. So Magnolia is talking to Tara, Christian, and Henry, and they're talking about how it's possible that BJ like doesn't actually know that Magnolia still loves him, and she's like, how could he not know? It's so obvious. And they're like, well, have you told him? Like, what have you done to show him that? And she's like, well, not much. So she's like, all right, I'm gonna go tell him right now. And so she goes to his house, she gets him to come down, and she tells him, I'm in love with you. And this part, it's on page 198. She says, it's a deep dive into the darkness, hoping I'll pull up into some light. I love you, I tell him, and the windows of my heart burst open. The room fills with 1,000 turtle doves and one little deer. He blinks a lot. What? I'm in love with you. I've been waiting for that moment for 2.5 books. But then literally this happens so often, you can tell from my tabs. I have a pink tab. The dark pink tab is for like love and romantic moments. And then this like darker orange tab is for like moments where I'm frustrated or angry. And I got quite frustrated here because this happens so much where it's like a cute, sweet moment and then immediately ruined. So BJ gets like kind of angry that she tells him that she loves him, and he's like, why are you telling me this? And basically he's just like frustrated because he loves her so much, almost like because he's still with Jordan and because of all this like stuff that they've been doing to each other, hurting each other. And he's like, why is she coming back into my life right when I was like about to let her go? Like, I'm in therapy, I just started dating this other girl, like, and then she comes back and like everything is all messed up again. So then of course Magnolia's feelings are hurt because like he didn't say it back. He didn't even really say anything. He just didn't handle that situation well. And then immediately he's like, wow, I fucked that up. Like, I should have told her. And was like, yes, BJ, like, I get that you were processing. I understand that, but like, I just want them to be together and be happy so bad. So then they take this trip for Tara's birthday to like some, I don't even know, rocks, some like historic thing. I don't even know. But it's Tara, Jonah, and Magnolia and BJ, and basically they kind of clear the air about like what happened and why BJ didn't say he loved her back. And then of course like BJ's jealous because Magnolia is trying to get back at him, and so she's flirting with their like guide or whatever. They have this cute moment because like BJ's like, I don't want to go home yet. He's talking to Jonah and he's like, I don't want to go home yet. I need to fix this with her. I don't want to go back to Jordan yet. Like, I have to fix this. And Jonah is like, Jonah is so funny in this book. He is such a softie though. Like, I liked Jonah in the first book, but he had some moments where I was like, whoa man, not cool. Like, he bothered me a little bit in that book. But in this book, like him trying to win Magnolia's friendship back, and then of course like all of his friendship moments with BJ where he just has his back are just, I just love him. But yeah, Jonah just immediately like slashes the tire in his new car and is like, well, I guess we can't go home. But BJ has this quote on page 221 that says, I wonder if we'll ever not be magnets, not be those two things that drift home to each other no matter what. If there is a way to break the spell, I don't want to know a fucking thing about it. Because they're like laying on the grass and looking up at the stars, and it's just so cute because Magnolia says, they made me think of you, she tells me, looking up at them. The stars? She nods. I glance at her. Why? I know why. Faded, she gives me a shy look. That were written in them. Something stupid like that. So then, because Jonah slashed his tires, they have to stay the night at a hotel until they can get like the tire fixed or whatever. And basically BJ like begs Jonah to like put me in a room with Magnolia. He's like, do whatever you gotta do, but make it work. And then he's like, ugh, like it's such an inconvenience. Like, it's so funny. It literally says like, you know, only 2 rooms left. Is that okay? Like, it might put you guys in a weird position, but do you mind? And BJ, I roll my eyes at Jonah as though it's a massive inconvenience. Yeah, we'll be fine. Do you care? She barely looks me in the eye and then shakes her head. And then it says, he tells her, you're quiet. And she says, sorry. She glances up, flashing me a tired smile. You didn't look entirely pleased about this arrangement. And he goes, well, what can I say, Parks? I'm a fucking thespian. But that's like in his head. That part made me laugh. So then they are sharing the room, and BJ is like having a little like flashback moment where he's thinking about like when him and Parks like first started liking each other. Like he's always liked her, but when she started liking him back and they like started being a thing, and he's thinking back to like their first kiss and like this trip that they had where he like did everything he could to touch her and like hug her and just hold her hand and stuff like that. It was just really, really sweet. And then they played Spin the Bottle, and it landed on fucking Paley, and and BJ says, no, it's Magnolia. And Christian pulls a face. It's obviously Paley. And he says, nah, it's Parks. And then he stands up and moves the bottle. That part's so funny. And then when they're sharing the hotel room, BJ says, I love you, Parks. And they have this really sweet moment, and they like get together, and she says, I love you, and he says, I love you. And then Magnolia is like asking him about his new tattoos because he's got a lot of new tattoos, and so he goes through and talks about all of his new tattoos and like how they're basically all still about her, even the ones that aren't good, like they'll hurt her feelings, but they're still all about her. He's got the 2 dead bees, he's got fuck NYC, their houses at Varley, the lock from Dartmouth, and then a seed of a willow tree. Oh, and then BJ with this quote on page 237. He says, I missed you, Parks, Beach says, staring at the ceiling. Don't do that again. I glance up at him. Do what? Leave me. BJ. And then, yeah, we have that, like, blissful 5 pages of happiness, and then it's ruined again. So, my, annotation here is literally just, god damn it, happiness only lasts like 3 pages. And then I have this little emoji. But yeah, Jonah makes a joke about how like Parks is now the other woman, and she takes that really badly, and is talking basically about how like is this what you do? You get a girlfriend and you cheat on her? Like she didn't realize that. And to BJ, he's like, it's always been you, so like it didn't seem like a big deal to me. Like I don't care about Jordan. Like this means the world to me. She doesn't. Parks just doesn't take that well. And then BJ says, am I ever going to be good enough for you? And then in his point of view, it says, I asked her to her face, will I ever be good enough for her? And she didn't say a fucking thing. I guess that answers that. At least it was quick, like a band-aid ripping off. Bit unfortunate that it wasn't actually a band-aid. It was a skin graft, and I wanted it there. But here we are. The pain is unbelievable. Ugh, and then he sleeps with Jordan and is telling Jonah about that, and Magnolia overhears and then runs away. Also, Henry and Magnolia have a lot of like really sweet friendship moments in this one as well, where he's just the sweetest. And like the Henry, Tara, Jonah love triangle that's going on, I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out. All right, then we get to part 2, and we get this little text combo with this random number, but we know that it's Julian. And it's New Year's Eve at Julian's, and Parks comes out like just having done the deed with Julian and just breaks BJ's heart. And I do like Julian. I'm still a bit peeved with him about the kidnapping thing from the second book from Daisy Hates, but he is like a hard guy to not like, you know, he's a hard guy to stay mad at. Like I'm still upset, but like he's so charismatic. But yeah, I just don't think he's right for Magnolia, obviously. Oh, BJ has another quote on page 279 that says, we're fated, woven into the tapestry of the universe. My name right next to hers. We're in the stars. And then BJ and Henry are having a little bit of like a hashing out their things because their mom invites them over for like a brunch or a dinner or something like that, because she can tell that they're at odds with each other, because Henry is still pissed at BJ because Henry is like so loyal to Magnolia. But they're talking things through, and Henry says, "What do you want from her?" I shake my head, give him a shrug like it's simple. "I just want her." "Beej," he gives me a look. "You had her." And my annotation there is literally just kill me. But this part is also where BJ says, like, asks, "Do you think that I'm good enough for her?" And Henry says, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do you really?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then BJ says, like, "I know she thinks I'm a fuck up." And Henry says, "She doesn't." "Don't lie to me." I roll my head back. "I am a fuck up." "Beej," he sighs, "you fucked up. You're not a fuck up." But then he says, like, "If I wasn't your brother, would you still think I'm good enough for her?" And it's like a moment of hesitation that Henry has. And BJ says, "I'm not," and apparently we all know it, which is so sad that he thinks he's not good enough for her. Oh, Magnolia and Daisy have a moment, because obviously Magnolia is like staying by Julian for a bit while they're hooking up, and Daisy is still like so annoyed with Magnolia, but she flicks like sauce onto her cardigan, and then Daisy's like, "Okay, that was immature, like let me go do your cardigan, or like give me your sweater so I can take the stain out or whatever." And it's like, I'm just ready for Daisy and Magnolia to be friends, because I feel like they could be friends. Oh, we get the title drop from BJ. On page 290, the quote starts, it says, "Magnolia goes still, looks over at me. We've rounded a lot of corners. Her heart breaks in her eyes like a dropped egg, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore without her. I hate being without her. Rummage through the drawer in my mind as fast as I can to find the words to tell her that I'm coming for her. I'm on my way back, that this is just the long way home. But the drawers are a mess, the words are all jumbled. I love her, and then what?" Then she pushes back from the table. It's the long way home. I'm on my way back. This is just the long way home. I love this book so much. Ugh, then freaking Jordan, she's so obnoxious. They're having like a cute moment, which like, okay. In reality, Jordan is not the bad guy here. She is the one that's dating BJ at the moment, even though she shouldn't be, even though BJ should have broke up with her, but like, she is not doing anything wrong at the moment. But still, BJ and Magnolia are having a cute moment, and then Jordan leans over BJ and says, "What's Julian like in bed?" she asks curiously. Yeah, that was just obnoxious, like, ugh. Oh, then we get a moment in the club where like Magnolia and Julian are together, but Julian is over somewhere else, like feeling up another girl, and BJ is the one that points that out to her. And Magnolia has this moment where it's just like, you just understand her so much. On page 299, she says, "In front of BJ, which is worse, I think, because I have a quiet but prevalent worry that BJ might see me as a tiny bit disposable, and the very idea of him seeing someone else perpetrate that makes me want to cry more than I already wanted to cry from just seeing Julian do that in the first place." Like, she already felt like she could be replaced because BJ cheated on her in the first place, but now seeing someone else like feel like that's okay, that they can just go be with somebody else right in front of her, like she doesn't matter, like you just can understand like her insecurities a lot more. And then Julian and BJ get in like a little bit of a scuffle. They don't actually fight, but they toss some, you know, fierce words at each other, and Magnolia like puts the kibosh on that. Jonah helps, pulls Julian away, and then they go home, and like Magnolia and Julian are heading back, and she says, "You know, if you ever hurt him, I'd kill you." And she's literally Bambi telling this like gang lord that she would kill him for BJ, and I just love that. And then of course BJ says something that he doesn't mean, and he's texting Parks and just like making sure she's okay after all of that, and he like makes some snide comment about her, and then she says "fuck you," and he says "Julian seconds pass," and I'm like, BJ, why did you have to say that? Why did you have to say that? You immediately regretted it. Why'd you say it? You just gotta, you know, take deep breaths for 10 seconds, think it through before you say something like that. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I'm on page 313 now on chapter 50. So I do want to get some more reading done today. I don't know that I'll be able to finish it today, but I'd like to get, you know, another 100 pages read today. So I'll definitely be popping in for more updates. But yeah, I just wanted to update on those because I couldn't stop reading yesterday once I was in it. Like I didn't want to stop to film an update. So here we are. But yeah, I'll be back to check in whenever I have another update.
Oh, here you are, face to face in this trashy bar. Another glass and I am going places. Makes me laugh about the irony of everything. I like the way you're thinking. I don't really care about the music on the dance floor. I don't really mind all the smoke is in the bathroom. I don't care at all, baby, you got my attention. So you were saying, oh no, I don't see the logic of things. It's quite a lonely world that we're living in. Oh baby, you are something special, I'm sure. Everything makes total sense when you're next to me. Where you wanna go? I am all about adventure times. Another drink and I'll go anywhere. The way you smile, like a flash in the universe. You are illuminating. I don't really care about the people in the bar line. I don't really mind all the woo girls doing stage dives. I don't care at all, baby, you got my attention. So you were saying, I don't see the logic of things. It's quite a lonely world that we're living in. Oh baby, you are something special, I'm sure. Everything makes total sense when you're next to me. Even if I told you I could never let you go, I am not so sure you believe me. But if I mean to show you, I will never.
Hello everyone. I thought I would film another quick update before I finish this book. I'm on page 426, so I have less than 100 pages, just about 100 pages, and I'm going to go finish this today, like now. So I thought I would film a quick update because, like I said, it's been like 100 pages since I've updated, but basically it's just like, you know, the back and forth, the cute moments, and then the moments where somehow it gets messed up or something happens here. We get this moment where we see this flashback of BJ and Magnolia when they were still in school, and it's just like showing like how much they were in love back then, and like how that's like they're paying for that now. But this moment was so cute. It's where like Magnolia went on some vacation and they hadn't seen each other in 10 days, and that was like the longest that they'd ever been apart. And BJ is like trying to get out of class, and the teacher's like, no, I'm not letting you out of class. And he's like, Magnolia, you might as well just come in. And so she sits there for the class, and as they're leaving, BJ like announces to the teacher, because he's like, you're gonna have detention for this or whatever. And he's like, not this weekend though, because I've got plans. And the teacher's like, oh, what might those be? And BJ's like, well, sir, we're going to have sex for the first time. And then the teacher was like, oh, okay, right. I hate that. Hate it. Hate that you said it so merrily too. God, are you sure you're ready? Maybe that was Magnolia that said it. That said that they were gonna have sex for the first time. And just the way that the teacher responded was so funny. And then Magnolia has this line on page 401 where she says, this was what I'm swimming towards. Not just in love with him, but a whole wonderful, terrifying, beautiful, painful life with him. And if that does not just like sum up their whole relationship, I don't know what does. But then we also get the reveal that Jordan was like, has been well aware that her relationship with BJ is not like a real relationship, basically. She was using him to get followers on social media, and he was obviously using her as like a foxhole. So yeah, we get that whole reveal, and it was just like odd. I'm not a big fan of Jordan. I get what she was trying to do all those times where she was like trying to rub it in Magnolia's face that BJ is with her. Like she was trying to be a good friend to him, but like I feel very protective of Magnolia. I think she's been through enough. I think BJ has been through enough. I think that Jordan just kind of exacerbated things and did not actually help the situation at all, but whatever. And then BJ is struggling right now with still like not feeling like he's ever going to be good enough for Parks. And we're in her point of view at this point on page 420. He says, you think I can't see it on your face, how you're looking at me? And she says, and how am I looking at you? And he gives me a smile. It's sad and quick, like I'm not good enough. And she says, BJ. I blink at him and my mind floods with a million memories and thoughts I have to prove him wrong. So it's like she doesn't think that he's not good enough. He's just like internalizing it and thinking that he's not good enough. And it's so sad. I hate that he's struggling with that. But then Julian says something about it. He has this whole line right here where he says, listen, boys like Valentine are born into families where they're taught that they have to do the right thing all the time for him to be accepted. That kind of thinking, Magnolia, it fucks people up. It's all wrapped up in his self-worth now. Do good to get good, and he did shit, and he's scared he's gonna get shit. He can't help it, but people are people, and people hurt people. It's just the nature of being human. We fuck up. And his issue, it's your fault, Parks. You've got that thing about you that makes you want to be different or better. He's trying to be good enough for you or some shit. She says, he said that I look at him like he's not good enough for me. And Julian says, well, that is complete horseshit. You look at him like he's Michael fucking Angelo. He doesn't feel good enough for you. That's all that is. And then the part that I left off at was where BJ and Henry are having a conversation, and BJ is saying like, I need her to forgive me for sleeping with Paley. Like I need her to forgive me. And Henry's like, she's just now starting to deal with the fact that you did that. And he's like, it's been years. And Henry's like, it's been years for you since you did it, like years of you having to forgive yourself almost. And even though she found out about it a year ago, she stopped talking to him, like completely shut down on it, like wouldn't talk about it at all. So she hasn't been dealing with it, and it's only been that since she's come back to London that she's just now started to deal with it. So like that kind of forgiveness takes time, and it's just so sad that the whole thing is sad. So yeah, I am going to go finish the last 100 pages of this. I will record my reactions to the last, I don't know, 20 or so pages maybe, and if there's anything else that I like really needed to talk about while I'm reading it, I will, but my guess is that I'll get too sucked in that I won't want to stop reading just to update. So then after I finish, I'll do my final update of this. So I'm almost done. I have 30 pages left. I'm on page 491, and Magnolia just got in a car crash. that is definitely somebody did this on purpose. My guess is it's related to Julian and like the gang stuff, because Jonah and Christian's mom was in an accident, and I'm guessing that that's also somehow involved. I'm not sure. Don't even know where I left off in my last update, but Julian and Magnolia break up because they were never really dating, even though they definitely were. Julian intentionally has sex with another girl in the club so that BJ can like fight him and defend Magnolia's honor and, you know, feel good about like deserving her. And we don't know when it's being told to us that Julian did it on purpose, but obviously Magnolia breaks up with Julian, and then BJ has broken up with Jordan, so they're ready to be together. And then BJ says that he wants to take things slow because he thinks that if they rush into it, it'll get messed up somehow, and he's like, I'm in it for the long haul, so let's just try to be friends. I'm not going to sleep with any girls. You're not going to go immediately jump into some other guy's arms to fill this void. We're going to learn to trust each other again. And they have a bit of a fight, right? We have these like few moments of bliss, and then they have a bit of a fight because they run into Paley. And first of all, that whole scene, like, I am sorry, I hate Paley. I'm not sorry at all, actually. I think that she is such a shitty friend and a shitty person, and the like excuses that she was giving were so freaking weak. She's like, imagine growing up being your best friend and, you know, having the spotlight be on you. Like, okay, if that bothers you, don't be her friend. If you're going to have been jealous at her for 2 decades because Magnolia has this presence and people pay attention to her and you're like Magnolia's friend, like, then don't be her friend. Like, if you're that jealous, and she's like, well, I loved BJ too. Like, too fucking bad. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not sorry. I'm gonna stop saying that because I'm not. Like, tough. She was literally like, I don't care. Her excuses were so stupid, and the whole time she was like defending herself. She never even apologized until like the last possible second. Like, don't you think if you wanted to be friends with Magnolia again, the first thing you would do as her best friend is apologize for the shitty mistake that you made? But no, Paley goes off and says all these things, and she's like, you were my best friend, and like Park says, you are nothing to me anymore, and Paley's like, how can you even say that to me? And like, do you know what it was like to be your best friend and grow up next to you, the other girl that was with Magnolia Parks? And then she says, I loved him too, he was my first kiss. Like, okay, that doesn't mean that you get to claim him. BJ can decide who he wants to be with, and he's chosen Parks, not you. Get over it. And when BJ literally says like it's always been her, it says Paley's mouth pulls a little. She looks sad, like that hurt her a bit. Seems weird that she doesn't already know that. Seems sad like she hasn't realized that already. And I was like, have you been paying attention at all? Like, that, I just can't. I can't with her. I'm so over Paley. I was never like a Paley fan. Like, I had suspected her from like the middle of the first book, and like, I don't know. And then obviously because she did this shitty thing, I was like, what kind of friend, you know? But the fact that she was like giving all of these excuses and never apologized until the last second, and Parks is like, I'm done with you, you need to leave, and Paley's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you couldn't have led with that? Not that that would have helped, but like, instead of making excuses for yourself, you couldn't have led with I'm sorry? Like, no. So anyways, BJ and Magnolia get into a bit of a fight because Magnolia thinks that she has accepted and like is trusting him again, but seeing Paley, it really hit her that she isn't quite over it like she thought she was. And so she's upset because BJ's like, can you actually trust me? And she's like, yeah, I totally can. And we know that's not true yet. And BJ's like, yeah, if I have a late night, like, what is your first thought? And then BJ is also mad at Magnolia because he also can't trust her because she keeps leaving him. Anytime, like in the first book, when they had that discussion at the willow tree and she was like, or he said like, I'm all in, we need to let this go, I'm in for the long haul, like we need to be done with it. And Magnolia said yes. And then she ended up leaving. Like, granted, BJ and I understand like why that would hit her like the way that it did. But the fact that she kept leaving him, and anytime that he makes a mistake, she leaves him and jumps into the arms of another guy, like that has affected his trust in her as well. And so they have this bit of a fight. I literally am at the part, I need to keep reading, I need to stop talking about it, but I'm literally at the part where Magnolia gets into that car crash with Bridget, and she says the line, "How many loves do you get in a lifetime?" And this whole passage here, I'm going to read it on page 490. So she says, "For me, it's just the one. I've had more, but as I float away, there's only one I'm thinking of. He is what I'm thinking of. Not how he hurt me, not what he did to me, not what we've done to each other. Just him. How his hair falls in his face, the dip in his top lip, how his mouth parts when he's thinking, the freckle on the right side of his mouth, the shape of his nose. I trace his jawline in my mind, count the colors in his eyes. I feel sad for the splittest second, because I always kind of thought they'd be the last things I'd see here on Earth. That we'd get to Tobermory, I don't know if that's how you say that, eventually, grow up and old together. But here I am now, grateful anyway that I got the chance to love him at all, albeit maybe badly at times, but at least I got to love him, and maybe now I appear to be leaving him once again. I hope that he forgives me for this one, because it wasn't my fault. The sounds are getting quieter now, even though they could be getting louder. And my Ballantine-stained heart surges as it remembers every waking moment of our youth spent tangled up with each other, and a million blurry nights of tears and bad words and big feelings and messy kisses and grabby hands and choices we should have never made, but I'm so glad we did. I love that tree. I love that door that he could never lock. I love that piece of sandstone that is so much more than a piece of sandstone." And I drift off into the infinite void, thinking of him. I need to keep reading. I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to finish this book right now.
There's some stains on your photo, little cracks on your rusty frame. Stuck in the mud, but it's okay. I don't have the pieces of you buried in the flashbacks. All these wicked nightmares has gone cold. Now we go way, way back, as far as way back goes. Still standing by your side. You know I'll be right here when all the monsters come. I've got you.
BJ just proposed. I am so scared that this is somehow gonna get messed up, but I'm really, really happy right now. I just got to chapter 80, so I just read the part where BJ and Magnolia are like talking about like the wedding and stuff and how they are gonna plan it and have to pick a date, and BJ gives her another ring because he gave her like his family ring before, but he got her like her dream engagement ring, which was really cute. And then we have the scene where they're at the dinner with their families and they tell everybody like they're engaged, and it's just so cute. I just wanted to get this, like me being happy, filmed here because I have a strong suspicion that it's not gonna stay that way. I'm so nervous. Oh god, I don't want to keep reading. I just want to end the book right here. Page 510. I'm done.
You grew old in suburbia, where pretty demons never show, shifting shapes in millennia.
finished. It's a long way home. I literally don't even want to talk about the ending. Should have just stopped. When Magnolia was in the accident with Bridget, they're all making sure that she's okay, Magnolia, because it was her side of the car that got hit. And so she's got like several broken bones, a concussion, she needed surgery, lots of stuff going on. And on page 494, BJ says, "They check you out, Bridge?" She shrugs a little, just a couple of scratches, a bump on the head. And when I read that and she shrugged and she didn't say like, yeah, they checked me out, I don't even know if they did, but the bump on the head, I was like, uh-oh. But in my head, I was like, she's gonna be okay. I definitely didn't see it coming like that. I thought maybe like, I was like, something might go wrong there, but I didn't really think too hard on it because like I didn't foresee what happening. We have that really happy chapter. BJ and Parks are in a really good place. They're engaged, they're planning their wedding, they told their family, everybody's happy. And then they're just like sitting around talking about wedding stuff. And Bridget makes a comment, like she rubs her temple, and BJ asks like, is she okay? And she says, just tired. And then she says, I'm really tired, I'm going to bed. Well, like as they're talking about all this wedding stuff. And then Magnolia goes in to like apologize for some like snarky comment she made, and Bridget won't wake up. And like the last lines of the book, I can't. My whole childhood is littered with memories of being alone and lonely and abandoned and disregarded in our family. And the only part that makes it feel okay is that Bridget was there with me. Through all the ways our parents failed us, my sister did not. My sister is the lace trimming around all of it. And I'm watching my fiance do his absolute, undeniable best to give my sister breath again. But he can't. She's already gone. I was really sure that somehow the ending, because I knew the ending was going to be sad. I knew that going into it, but I was so sure that it was going to be something with Magnolia and BJ, like breaking up again, something that tore them apart. I don't know. I was expecting that kind of sadness, not one of my favorite characters dying kind of sadness. I love Bridget. Well, I'm giving this 5 stars. It's definitely one of my favorite books of the year, of all time. I just honestly, I just don't even know what to say about it anymore. That's it for this video. Thank you for sticking around till the end. I know it was quite a long one, but I hope you enjoyed, I suppose. If you made it to the end of this video, leave 2 emojis for me, because I need it. I need you to leave 2. Leave the cloud emoji and leave the wave emoji. You know what? Make it 3. Leave the cloud, leave the wave, and leave the Jolly Roger pirate flag emoji. Leave those 3 emojis down in the comments to show me a little bit of support here after what I've just gone through. And thank you so much for sticking it out to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Jessa, for writing these characters. Okay, I'm gonna go cry some more and talk to Lachlan now. So, thank you again for watching. I will see you all in my next video. Bye.